So, I've been sitting with something that we have been talking about this week. And what that is if you're the hub, you're the bottleneck. And I really need you to sit with that for a second because what I've watched happen to high capacity women, women with vision, the calling, the gifting, is they build a business around themselves so tightly that the business cannot move without them. And they call it dedication. Ask me how I know. But God calls it a stewardship problem. And so today we are going to fix it. So I want you just to welcome back to all of our leaders. I'm Shelby Frederick, also known as Lady Jules. And if you're new here, this is where high capacity women come to stop spinning and start building systems, clarity, and the kind of grounded execution that doesn't cost you your peace. And so today's topic is one I get asked about constantly. Why does everything still route through me even when I have help? So let's go into the diagnosis. Here's what nobody tells you about being the hub of your operation. You see, it doesn't feel like a problem, it actually feels like responsibility. Every email, every approval, every content decision, every client touch, it all comes through you. And in the beginning, that made sense because you were the only one who knew the vision. You were the only one who could hold the standard. But at some point, that wasn't stewardship anymore. Mm-mm. That was control dressed up as commitment. And here's where it gets expensive. It's not just in hours or in revenue, but in your body. Decision fatigue is not a mindset problem, it's a nervous system response. And when you are the bottleneck, your nervous system is running triage constantly. It's scanning for threats, managing urgency, and making micro decisions at a rate that your body was never designed to sustain at scale. And when your nervous system is in that state of chronic activation, you cannot discern, you cannot delegate, you cannot even build. You can only react. And a leader who can only react is not a leader. She's a liability to her own vision. So, how do we actually fix this? I want you to walk through the same framework I use with every client inside the Season Shift Intensive. And it's called D.D.B, Discern, Dismantle, and Build. And it is the architecture of getting out of your own way. So, step one is to get honest about everything and why it still routes through you. And I want to challenge you because most of the time, it is not because you're a control freak, it's because you never built a system that you trusted more than yourself. So, ask yourself this question: am I the last line of trust or the last line of fear? You see, that's a different question. And the answer tells you everything. Now, step two is dismantle. This is where we identify the structures or the absence of structures that are keeping you at the center. And this is what I call structural surgery. We're not cutting people, we're cutting the invisible pathways that make you the default answer to every question. What would have to be true in your business for someone else to make that call? You see, that's the structure you have to build. Now, step three is build. And this is where it gets exciting because this is where we bring in the tools. This is where AI enters the conversation, not as a replacement for your genius, but as the infrastructure that holds your system between you. Mhm. I want to reframe how you think about AI entirely. Most people talk about AI as just a productivity tool. And yes, it automates your email drafts, it summarizes your call recordings, it generates your content outlines, it pulls data insights so you're not buried in spreadsheets at 11 p.m. All of that is true. But here is what I want you to hear today. AI is not just a productivity tool, it is a regulation strategy. When you have AI handling the repetitive cognitive load, like the scheduling, the first drafts, the data sorting, the caption generation, you are not just getting hours back, you are lowering the baseline demand on your nervous system. You are creating space for your brain to shift out of triage mode and into strategic mode. And strategic mode is where discernment lives. You see, strategic mode is where you hear clearly. Strategic mode is where you lead, not from exhaustion, but from vision. I've watched women go from 14-hour reactive days to 4-hour intentional ones, not by working less, but by routing better. You see, the work didn't shrink, but the bottleneck did. And that is what faithful execution actually looks like. So, you are not called to be the machine. You are called to be the vision. So let the machine serve the vision. And I want to be very clear. This transformation that I'm talking about is not just good for your business, it is profoundly good for your soul. When you are no longer the answer to every question, you get to reclaim your Sabbath, your evenings, the dinner table, the quiet morning where you actually hear God speak instead of running through your task list before your feet hit the floor. You were not designed to be indispensable to a system. You were designed to be a steward of vision. And those are two very different callings. And when you build systems that actually hold, I'm talking about systems with ownership lanes, delegation rhythms, and AI infrastructure between you, you stop shrinking and you start leading from the inside out. Now, if you are ready to stop being the bottleneck and start being the catalyst your vision actually needs, the Season Shift Intensive is your next step. It's a private 90-minute session where we use the D.D.B framework to map exactly where you are in the choke point, what structures need to be dismantled, and how to build a delegation and AI system that doesn't require your constant presence to function. So the link is going to be below. And if you're watching this and something in you said, "This is me," that's discernment. So honor it. And if you want to go deeper on the AI side before you're ready to invest in a private session, join me for Tech Thursday AI Literacy Training. This is where we get practical on exactly how to integrate these tools into your workflow. You were built to lead. So let's build a business or a ministry that makes room for that. Blessings. If this question reflects your current leadership season, pause and notice your response. Nothing is wrong with you. This points to capacity, not character. This is the work I support inside my private D.D.B breakthrough coaching cohorts. Structural support, and sustainable change. This pattern keeps repeating. Deeper support matters. Thank you for spending this time with me. We rebuild first, then we rise.